Thrasher's night. Awesome performance.
Yeah, we're not out of it yet.
This championship is alive. Chase Sexton wins the overall.
Just stoked to get that monkey off my back, get another win.
What a night. Welcome to Title 24, presented by NBC Sports. I got my co-host back, RV. He was busy with his kiddos, driving back from Spring-a-Ding last week, and glad to have you back. Thanks to Dunlop, Boxo, United Motorsports, and Quadlock. We appreciate you guys. And RV, got to thank Chad Reed again. That was fun to have him on, but glad to have you back on for sure. And so give us the rundown, brother. How was the week and how was the weekend? You're back.
Yeah.
Where
man, it's full circle. It's dirt bike tracks during the week and racing on the weekend. We drove up to Turlock, California, raced at a track called Oatfield. It's about 6 hours north of us, almost all the way to Hangtown. So, but yeah, it was a good weekend. Went up and did Myron Short, 2X Promotions. He had a Mammoth and Loretta's qualifier. And went up and raced that. So yeah, jammed back last night. Got home around 10:30. So it's been a good weekend. Got some good racing in, and got up this morning early and caught the broadcast, and it was a really good broadcast to watch. Good racing this weekend.
So what do you got going on? Like what's the race schedule like, and what's your schedule like? Because I know you got some obligations. What's happening?
Yeah. So we got Blue Crew Invitational this weekend out at Glen Helen. It's our first one of the season for the Blue Crew Invitationals. We have 3 of those all over the United States. So It's we have Glen Helen this weekend. We have one at Oak Hill, actually, in Texas. And then we have one other one. I drawn a blank on where that's at, but we have 3 of those throughout the year. But yeah, we got Cal Classic coming up. We have World Minis coming up. Like I'm full in the trenches. After we're done with the show, I'm going to go down and start prepping bikes, washing and getting ready for tomorrow night, Paris Mini Night for the boys. And, we're trying to play catch up here, since
that's right.
Since they just decided to, pursue this sport about 7 months ago. I'm like, okay, so I'm in the deep end.
We were talking before we hit record today for everyone tuned in to Title 24 today and listening, and what RV is experiencing and how he was talking about making it first full circle. And I was thinking about, my days and like how my parents were able to do it, how your parents were able to do it. And it's like those races, like you said, is about 6 hours away. But I go back to when I was young and my dad having to work and I couldn't miss school, my mom having to work. So it's like those races that were, I don't know, let's just say 6 to 9 hours away from where you were based out of. And for me, like living in northern Florida and then driving up to Muddy Creek for the weekend, it was a long drive. So waiting for dad to get off work, then we have everything loaded up. He goes there, we pull in to Muddy Creek or wherever it might be, like 2 a.m, and then we race all weekend. And then as soon as your last moto is done on Sunday, you have to haul the mail back home because I had to go to school and my dad had to go to work. Similar to you, it's like those weekends were, I feel like I'm feeling the repercussions of them now. And then when I hear what you're doing, I'm like, I get tired thinking about it. And it's crazy now that you're in that position. It's just crazy to think of how our parents did it. Right. And we didn't have to go to work on Mondays,
from being kind of in this and being back around it now full time. And it's amazing the amount of effort and also money that goes into it from the parents' standpoint. The kids are amazing on their dirt bikes, but their kids, that's what we expect them to do. They go have a lot of fun, with their buddies and race their dirt bike. But from the parent side of it, man, you don't really know until you know, until you actually do it. Yeah, I thought it was a lot of work. Now that I'm doing it, like it's and I'm very, very blessed. So would you be, Ricky, if your kids were racing, that we don't have a Monday through Friday job, because the amount of effort and time that goes into it is just amazing. So that the parents in this sport that get each and every one of these kids to the amateur level, and get them to big bikes and get them through, regardless if they make it to the professional level or not. It takes an army to do this, and time and money. And so I give every parent out there a huge shout out for committing to doing this sport and to their kids.
Jay Lenhart asks, "Hey guys, love the show, appreciate it." Jay, do either of you ever get a day off to free ride? Do you still have the itch to enjoy twisting the throttle and getting the adrenaline pumping? For Jay, that's his therapy after a long week of work. Do you get to dust the boots off often?
Yeah, every once in a while. I think it's becoming more, for me, honestly, it's becoming more enticing to go out and ride now, because as the kids are getting better, obviously I can go out and show them, instead of just telling them how to do it, their body position, what to do. And I haven't done it a lot, but I'm going to start doing it more now that we're kind of to a level where they understand they're going a little bit faster, so they can kind of understand those feelings on the motorcycle, where I can actually show them. So that's the interesting and fun part for me, is not only to just try to beat it through their thick skulls, but actually to show them how it's done on the motorcycle. So that to me is actually the funnest part about it. Like I said, I don't do it a lot, but being able to ride with your kids is pretty rad. So I'm looking forward to more of those days.
Yeah, I don't always have the itch. I think I'm more of a fair weathered rider if the conditions are good. I mean, since I sold the farm several years ago, riding it's more of a commitment for me. As far as loading up, because you think about like when you had your facility and when I had mine, it's like we got spoiled. We go there, all of our stuff is there, and it was really easy for us to do that. I mean, now that was by design. We wanted our work to be as easy and plug and play as possible. So for me now, I enjoy to go ride at a great friend of mine's, old business friend, also partner of mine. He's got like a vet track that I can go ride, Earl May's track. It's a lot of fun, and the speeds aren't too fast. And a lot of times too, like when I ride and the bikes are so fast, I'm scared to get hurt straight up. Like I'm riding and I'm enjoying it, but at the same time, I'm like, I hope everything goes okay. I hope everything goes okay.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that too is just to swing a leg over your dirt bike in our position, like that's not the funnest part. I think the funnest part is the camaraderie around it. Like hanging out with Earl May, hanging out with some good buddies, and if you end up doing only 10 laps throughout the day, okay, great. Or if it's 20 laps or whatever it is, if it's you ride all day, whatever that is, it's more or less for us and for me. I would say is going there and hanging out with some good friends and riding, and telling the stories.
And that stuff for me too, RV, as you know, we'll get you on a ride, but is like when we do our summer adventure ride, and I'd love to do the Colorado 500, stuff like that, where, it's not necessarily a race, but it's, a little more challenging than some of the adventure rides that we go on. And I don't want it to be over challenging. But at the same time, just riding full dirt would be fun. So it's stuff like that. Jay, we appreciate, good question there. All right. Motorsports on NBC's community poll this week. Do Birmingham's results change your mind about how the Supercross championship will end up for 450s and the 250 East? So what, like, does the results and how well that Chase rode and what you saw from the East, does it change your perception on what you think?
I think that Chase was on. Chase rebounded very, very well. 1-1-2 for the overall. He rode very, very well. Little tiny mistake, obviously, in the third one, but nothing too crazy. Just lost the rear end in coming out of that turn. But no, I don't personally. It doesn't change my outlook on the series, on how I think this thing is going to play out. I personally think that points are close, and we have to, I've said it before on the show that if there's any dog that's backed into the corner, it's and you're on that team, you want to be on Coop's side in that situation, just because of past, in the past, Chase has made mistakes. Now, that being said, the rebound was phenomenal. He rode well. The bike looked like it was on point. Same with AP. They just looked like they were able to ride the speed that they were going pretty easily. Coop dropping it in that turn obviously was a mistake that he doesn't typically make. And he maybe just looked a little bit off, Saturday night.
Yeah. For me, I'm on the fence. So like I was going through some stats, and we talked about them on the broadcast, RV, a little bit, and 90% of Sexton's wins have come in the first 4 races of the series and the last 5 races of the series.
Wow.
And now some of those, you have to consider when Coop got hurt in Nashville, and then when Eli got hurt in Denver. So those were where some of the wins came from for sure. But I feel, this statistics show that he's better later on. So for me, I think yes, I think it changes what the outcome looks like a little bit. I think it makes it harder for Coop. But still Sexton is in a situation where he has to go out and perform. But now with cutting that points lead in half, I feel like the pendulum has swung a little bit more to the middle, where it's like, okay. And I feel like now, as looking at the points, Coop has an 8-point lead. Now they both have to be perfect, I feel like, and there's no more mulligans. So because
it was 15, right? RC, it was 15 coming in Birmingham. Yeah. So that's a nice little cushion coming in there. And now we're sitting at 8, right? So 8 is, yes. Is it a cushion? Yes. Do you want to be in that position? Yes. But it's not, you don't have a lot of breathing room now. So now the pressure is equal. Like you said, it's equal on both sides. Chase can't afford any more mistakes, and neither can Coop. And they both have to show up every single weekend and put their best foot forward. Not that they don't try every single weekend. Look, they're all out there trying to get as many points, to score as many points as they can and cash those checks. But as each weekend goes by, the pressure builds more and more and more because we're coming down to the last rounds.
Hey, head over to unitedmotorsports.com/title24, enter your email and get a $15 credit towards your first order. Then you'll automatically be entered each week into a drawing for a $50 credit for your next order. So head over there, and that kind of what we've been talking about leads into the United Motorsports moment of the week this week for sure is Sexton. I was watching him closely in qualifying practice, RV, and he just looked really, really good and strong, and like his bike looked like it was on rails. And when he was doing his fast laps, he didn't look like he was on the edge, and just really connected. Like his bike was super, super connected. I'm like, oh man, he's definitely got it going on. Because you know how it is when some guys are doing their fast lap, the bike steps out a little bit here and a little bit there. And I just had that feeling based upon what my eye was telling me in qualifying practice. And and again, looking at the stats and what that shows and how well he's done in the past in the latter part of the series. So, I thought it was a phenomenal ride, like you said, and it kind of goes to, do you feel like this week, like the Austrian bikes, like, do you think there's any rhyme or reason? Chris Witzel 525 asks, hey, could the Austrian bikes have found something with this newfound consistency, or was it track-based?
I mean, look, I think every one of these manufacturers are searching and looking for something, right? If they can be 1% better, that's into their favor, obviously. So yes, maybe they have found something, but as you looked, both AP and Chase put themselves in great positions off the start, and that's 80% of your battle, 80% of your race right there, starting up front, 1 and 2. So, right. But then you had Mookie finishing third, on the box, and or second overall. Yeah. So maybe they did find something. It could have been a little bit of the track, the way the dirt, the way it was, the way the Austrian bikes rode on that track. Maybe it was just a little bit better than the Japanese bikes. But all in all, because we have such a long, supercross season, and different dirt conditions and all of that, like you're going to have weekends that you're like, man, my bike's perfect. And then you have weekends that, man, we need to work on the bike. So maybe it could have been just that this track was suited a little bit more towards the Austrian brand. But then again, you also got to look back. We just had a weekend off, right? Yeah, we had a weekend off, and maybe they went back to the drawing board and found just that little extra that they needed.
This segues us into, before we'll come back, circle back to the 450 download and what we thought and our thoughts and our reaction. But this kind of is a nice segue to the quad lock question of the week. And we talked a lot about this on the broadcast, myself and JT, and I want to get your insight on this more than anyone. But the quad lock question of the week, the winner this week goes to Redbeard MX92. And Redbeard asks, what are the advantages and disadvantages of the frame flexing? So take it away. You've ridden.
Yeah. So obviously, Ricky, you have more time on those different, steel frame versus aluminum frames. But yes, I started at Pro Circuit on steel frame. Then we moved to aluminum frame. When I had brought Kenny in to train with myself and Eldon when he was at KTM, I obviously had my own facility, so I did jump on Kenny's bike. Now completely different chassis platforms than currently what these guys are riding. Obviously it was quite a few years ago now. But yes, the bike did some things very phenomenal in certain areas, and then also some things that weren't so good in other areas. Being that the chromoly, the steel frame, there's areas that it'll pick up chatter, that it'll be maybe a little bit better on traction situations that are low traction, different parts of the track and then the aluminum frame maybe is better through the rhythm sections that have the hard G outs and things like that, where the frame doesn't flex as much. That's a Redbeard. That's a tough question just because I haven't rode any of these current models, meaning I've rode the YZ450 and that's it. So these manufacturers have come such a long ways since I raced. Also, since you've raced, Ricky, it's been a long time since we've got to ride like a true factory motorcycle. But they all have their pros and cons. Don't think that one bike is good everywhere and at every condition, because I can promise you that you got to Band-Aid each and every one of these manufacturers depending on conditions here or there, a track or whatever the case may be. There's bikes that are better than others in different situations always.
It was a tough call, when we were talking about it on the broadcast, RV, because you didn't want to, discredit how well that Chase and AP and Mookie were performing, but at the same time, as you're watching, they all three just looked really, really good, and they looked comfortable. And you talk about Malcolm Stewart, who had a hell of a night. I mean, crashing big, qualifying practice, kind of by accident. He was just wrong place, wrong time. Bike hits Justin Hill's bike, goes and he lands square on his side of his hip, right on the top of the jump. Brutal. Yeah. I mean, check this out. So you're going to see Justin Hill. He gets spit off. Bike goes sideways. And as Mookie's jumping over him, looks like his front tire hits Justin's bike and just sends his bike flying. Check this out, RV. Right.
Oh,
dude. And then watch him land.
Yeah, I get what the starts are all about, right? But and we've kind of talked about this in the past of these practice starts, like I can promise you that in that specific situation, that if I'm not going into that first turn first in that practice start, like I'm definitely laying back for that specific reason right there, just because you don't know what's going to happen. The tracks are beat a lot more beat up. You could see that the sun was down on it. It was dusty. It was a little more hard pack. It wasn't like the night show. So yeah, it's a tough situation to be put in when a rider goes down, and then you're just minding your own business, and here comes the Justin's bike over to the right, and then Mookie just clips his bike on that as he takes off, and it just spits that bike from underneath of him. And man, if he would have been another like 10 inches forward, his hip would have downsided that thing, and it probably would have been just fine. And I know he ended up fine, but definitely banged and bruised up.
Yeah, going back to Redbeard. So, RV, you said a couple key things on your analysis of the quad lock question of the week and what you thought where the aluminum frames might be a little bit better. And I remember the first time that I rode an aluminum chassis was when I test rode the CR250. And the first thing that I remember feeling is exactly what you said, going through the rhythm lanes in the big G out areas of just the holdup that it had. And I felt like I could go faster and push through the rhythm lanes faster through the G outs, like, because it could hold a load a little bit more and it didn't flex as much. Therefore, I had more forward drive going forward. And I'll never forget that. I mean, I felt it instantly. And it's exactly what you said. So that was
a positive feel.
Right. I mean, it felt better because I felt like, wow, I can go faster and I still feel safe, and that it has enough hold up to keep me going. And then in the mud, I always felt like it was a lot better when the bike got much heavier. The bike just felt a bit stiffer. And just not so
then,
stacked out.
Ricky, what about the negatives, like Corona, right? Like coming back onto a start straight, really blue groove, like
chattery,
or a berm that is blue groove coming in and then has a exiting rut, like what about that section, like areas like that?
Yeah. So that area is where I noticed that it wasn't as compliant and didn't flex as much. So like what you're talking about, RV, is coming out of a corner where it's chattery, like you were saying, that's where I felt like the bike would kind of hop around a little bit. And when I talk about like side torsion, like the bike flexing, sideways, that's where it needed work. Now that was many, many years ago. That was 23 years ago. Now, as you said, perfect analysis is like they've come a long ways, and all those tricks and things that you've done to your bike, that I did to my bike, that all my teammates did to their bike, and Reedy and everyone coming up through these generations of different styles of chassis, and doing some nip tucks and whatever, massaging the frame wherever you need to get it right and have that stiffness that it needs, but also being compliant and flexing where it needs to. All those tricks have kind of been implemented into the frames already, and it's almost like the best of both worlds. I look back and as we were talking on the broadcast of how maybe just the Austrian bikes, that track suited it well. I mean, I go back to other tracks that I thought maybe they would work well because of the flex, and that it didn't stand out as much. So I don't know, maybe it was just by happenstance. But if you look at it, I mean, Mook's been riding well, and so has AP. And so if you take how well they've been riding, and if that track just happened to be catered to that bike a little more than the Japanese brands, then it was like the stars aligned perfectly. So
but I just think, like, yes, Mookie rode well, but the two that really stood out was obviously AP and Chase, and maybe that was a little bit of that helped them, right? Maybe the bike was a little more compliant, it was better, but let's take nothing away from either of those riders. They were on, they had their starts dialed, they put themselves in good positions, and that also helps the racer from a mentality standpoint. You're starting up front, you ride better, the bike works, it just happens to work better when you're up front like that. I think that they both rode phenomenal, which was a big part of them making the bike look well. It could be the exact same motorcycle they rode 2 weeks ago, but it worked out this weekend. They put them both themselves in both good positions, and they were able to run with it.
And have you ever thought about this? And this is my opinion, and we all got opinions. And I'm like, I just think that aluminum chassis in general have more upside and more potential, because I still feel like in a certain way, RV, that we haven't seen the best of an aluminum chassis, because we're still learning and still trying to get it right. Where I almost feel like the Austrian brands and the steel chassis, they work well. They're a great motorcycle, but I feel like the steel chassis has seen its best day almost, and it's like, to get it right, they're patching it, but at the same time, it's their identity also. Like,
It is. Yep.
can
Yep.
you imagine if they went to aluminum chassis, would that be their way of saying, you know what, it's lived out its lifetime.
We're
It's time to
caving.
move on.
We're gonna cave and do. So,
What do you?
pardon me. I can agree with part of that, but then the other side of it is you got to remember too that a lot of our steel chassis back in the day, and you were rode all of
Yep.
that at that time, where they were all 2-strokes. So
Yeah.
like I think that what is the future of, is aluminum better, is steel better? I think that being that the Austrian brands are the only one running steel frames with the 4-stroke, and what we just saw, since we're talking about chassis, motorcycle, and how good it looked. I think that I think there's still potential there, just like there is with aluminum frames getting better. I think the steel frame can get better too.
Interesting. I never thought about that. That's great. Yeah, like when I was racing, it was all 2-stroke, and
just technology and the way they build things and the way they engineer things to make things stiffer here on the frame, or a chassis stiffer between the foot pegs or the head tube, or whatever the case may be. That was all done on 2-strokes. Now we're 4-strokes, but they're the only brand running, obviously, a steel frame. And what we just saw was all three of those motorcycles look like they were glued to that track. So they're, I sit as a fan, I sit on this side of the table and being like, I think they're both, aluminum and steel. I think they both have their ups and their downs also. And I think they can only get better from here. I really do.
Yep. Cool. Congratulations, Redbeard MX92, on winning the Quad Lock Question of the Week. We could go on and on about it, and that's one of the reasons that you're the winner. Also, you've been coming in and having some great questions for a very long time, quality questions for the last couple of years. So we appreciate the support that you give RV and myself at Title 24. That's awesome. We appreciate you. We appreciate all of our fans. So congratulations, JH. We'll set you in.
I wonder if he actually has a red beard. Teammates, me and you.
I mean, yeah. Well, I can't. I'm not man. I can't. I'm not man enough to grow a beard, dude. It'd be like all patched up and stuff. Yeah, I'm sure he does. JH will put you in contact with Quadlock. They are an Australian-based company, so sometimes it doesn't just happen overnight. But we appreciate you. So going back to the 450, dude, how about Anderson, bro? I kind of felt bad. I felt bad for him.
Night.
So let me tell you, or let me ask you, I should say, what's your position on how Chase got by him? Was it over the top? Did he need to do that? My
personal opinion on that, I think it was a great pass. I thought that he came in, Anderson wasn't expecting him. Yes, they touched, but it was a good block, call it block pass, and Jason went down. So I think there's no harm, no foul. I thought it was a great pass. Now, the thing you said it on the broadcast is Jason's not in this thing for the championship. Let's say, mathematically, I don't know if he's out of it, but he's essentially out of it from that standpoint. So now we all know that there's a few guys out there that don't mind rubbing elbows. It don't matter who it is, if they're in the championship fight or not in the fight. It doesn't matter. And Jason's one of those. So now Chase, making that great pass, in my opinion, has to pay attention and look over his shoulder from here on out, because Jason is the type of rider that will come back for retribution for sure.
So the Boxo breakdown, and for this week is this section right here, and that was going to be my question for you. Go to boxousa.com. Don't forget to use the Title 24 promo code for 10% off all on your site wide. So you're saying you do think that there could be some retribution there after that move?
I think that that everybody mathematically in it for a championship or not. I think that if Jason puts himself in a good position for an overall, right, or for a Supercross win, and it comes down to Chase and Jason is going to use that to his advantage. If Chase ends up on the ground, pushed off the track, whatever the case may be, and it wasn't bad. What Chase did was not bad at all. That was full racing. Yes, they had a little bit of contact, but that's what Supercross is about. Like that. That was totally legit right there. But now he just has to watch his back a little bit, because if they're in a first and second position, they're battling, whatever the case may be, Chase is going to have to be on the lookout for Jason, because if it's over, a position, moving forward in a position standpoint from second to first, fifth to fourth, whatever the case may be, Jason's going to take it, period.
Dude, I don't know, man. Like roll that replay back, Aaron, and that one angle. I don't think we got to see that angle on TV.
The front,
not that one, but he just, I mean, like this angle right here. I mean, he just goes straight up the track.
Yep. And I think
I don't know, man. Like, what if Anderson would have fell on him? Like,
totally.
I thought it was I thought it crossed the line a little bit, as far as I think he could have turned a little bit tighter and maybe not have went all the way up.
For sure. He probably could have made that pass regardless. Chase was going to make that pass on Jason here or another part on the track. Chase was riding very, very well. And he had the speed on Jason, and then also bridge the gap to AP. So he was on the move regardless. So to your point of, did he have to do that? Did he come in? Was it a little bit? I would say yes, just from the championship standpoint of, now you have to pay attention to where Jason's at now, at least until until he gets his retribution or whatever the case may be. I just think that the payback, whatever you want to call it, like, Jason's not going to forget. He's not the type of rider that's going to forget, and he's not in it for a championship standpoint either. So if he can knock down a Supercross win, cash that check for $120,000 on a Saturday night, and it's at the expense of Chase, he's taking it. He's gonna take it,
dude.
So it's a touchy subject there, right? Like, only because being in Chase's position, being in Jason's position, it might not have been the smartest move, right? I think he could have made the pass other places. I know he would have. He passed Jason.
Oh yeah, he was rolling.
He was on a roll. So it might not have been the smartest move, because at this point, late in the season like that, you want to have as many call it friends on the track as possible. I've heard you talk about it 100 times, Ricky, where, it could be even lappers or guys coming, like if you're coming through the pack, like, oh, here's RC or here's RV, like, that guy's cool. I talked to him in the tunnel, like, he's going past me regardless. Let me just make it easy on him, or you can have the other one. If you're a dick to a guy and he's like, no, I'm going to hang this guy up to dry for as long as I can, so there's games you have to play. I don't know if that was a good move on the chessboard.
Yeah, no, there is, and that's a thing me and JT were talking about, and I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was something alluding to the fact that, I was telling everyone, like, JT and Reedy were boys, and I was racing with Reedy, and I knew that we were going to sometimes lap, or I was going to have to sometimes get by JT. So I would be as cool as I could to him throughout the weekend and during the race or whatever, because I knew he wasn't going to do me a favor, but I was just trying to make it so he wouldn't go out of his way to be an and block for his buddy. And that's, like you said it perfectly. And I'm sure you did the same things with certain guys in your day. There's other parts of being a champion and managing your championship runs, and it comes at certain instances like that of knowing who you're racing, knowing who you don't want to fuel the fire with, and knowing where you might need a favor, and it goes a long ways. It does, dude. It does. Hey, so one of our loyal fans, Torrin Stanton, Jeff Stanton's son, asks about Aaron Plessinger. What would you work on with AP to help him capitalize better on the great starts recently? Ooh.
Yeah, it's tough. AP, this last week I'm here at Birmingham. He got pretty good starts. Most of them, he whole shot at, I think, 2 of them, right?
He was on, dude. He was on, and it's tough. I never got to spend much time or any time really on a great start, right? So being that the great is an equalizer, at least behind the gate standpoint, and I think from AP standpoint, I think it's more of a confidence thing. I really do. Yeah, guys make mistakes, maybe a little late on the gate, or don't get the launch that they want. But from a whole, I think it's more of a confidence thing. So I think that AP seems slowly building his confidence throughout this season. And I think, Saturday night was probably in my opinion, his best performance this year so far. And, I think it's going to be interesting to see what he can do with that confidence, that mentality now, knowing that he got not just one good start, he got a couple good starts Saturday night, and he rode well. So I think at this stage, at this level, it's a lot of it's just straight up confidence. I agree. So I spent a little bit of time with AP when he lived in Tallahassee. He was working with Swanee at the time and still riding for factory Yamaha. I believe it was before they turned the 450 team over to Star. But I'm with you. I feel like, and I don't know if I'd be a good riding coach for a lot of guys, but I feel he is a confidence dude from what I know. And if you can keep him believing in himself and knowing that he can run up there and contend for wins, even if he doesn't get a good start, but if he does get a good start like he was this weekend, and just building that self-belief in himself. And I would always say, put yourself back in that mindset of when you were, winning 250 regional championships, divisional championships, remember that, go harness that feeling and what it was like to win, and try your best to put yourself in that position mentally, and go out there and race with that mindset. Like when you were on 250s, I'm talking if I was talking to AP, when you're on 250s, you knew what it was like to win. You knew what it was like when you were lining up. Try to put yourself back in that spot mentally. That's what I would try to do, Torrin. If I was helping him, again, I'm no mental coach by any stretch, but I would just try to, give him positive affirmation and be like, hey, this is why you can still do well. Look what you've done in the past, and just try to get to that try to get there mentally. That's what I would say.
Yeah, because the riding's there, the speed's there. It seems like the fitness is there. I think and also the fitness from a leading standpoint. Being up front, racing with those top guys. It was a couple weeks ago. I don't remember what round it was, but he was running some great lap times. And he was up front, but they cracked him because he wasn't used to being up front. This weekend here at Birmingham, he handled the pressure of racing up front better than he did a few weeks ago. So just those little baby steps, and working your way up and believing and knowing, and then also executing, putting yourself in that position to be, running up front.
Mm-hmm. Before we move on to the 250, what do you think about Coop? Are you yeah, I mean, obviously you said it at the opening show, you're still on board. Your thought hasn't wavered. It was kind of out of character this weekend. So like, give us your analysis.
Yeah, I mean,
on the
look,
weekend.
like Hammaker, same kind of. I think it's actually the same turn.
Yeah, it is.
Opening lap. That can bite people like that, and very quickly on those opening laps when they grade up the track and fluff the dirt up and put some water on it, and Coop just came in and also too didn't put himself in a great position off the start. That was part of that issue is trying to make quick moves early. Obviously, if he would have, let's say he pulled the whole shot, right, he wouldn't have been that far inside. He would have been up more in the cushion or more on the rail of the berm where the tire would have had more to bite on. I think that Coop still is my pick just because of how mentally tough and strong he is. But also Chase has the speed, so speed on him, in my opinion. Chase is most of the time faster than Coop, but Coop's more consistent. So at this point, Coop's sitting with an 8-point lead. I'm still going with the consistency over the all-out speed.
Hey, go back to that crash of Cooper if you can, Aaron and RV. Do you think possibly he might have hit neutral? Watch, just see this. So he shifts and then it's hard to see.
I don't know. I think he came in. You could see, it looked like he shifted up
to second. I think, right, because they're doing that in first, right? That rhythm section.
Yep, because they're going into the whoops, and then I just think he came in and.
Oh yeah.
Maybe it was just a little softer, deeper than he expected.
Yeah. No, he didn't hit neutral because watch, like when you go back and he gasses it right before the apex and you saw Roos coming out. So watch that split second, like he goes and then right there, see like right before Malcolm, there's Roos.
That's where Coop's typically very good at, right?
Yeah.
Is being able to go really, really tight, but maybe the dirt was just a little heavier. Maybe it was a little slipperier. Like when he went to get on the gas, like it didn't go forward. But you can see also too, he didn't have his foot out at all, which isn't necessarily a problem. But when you're turning down that tight with that speed, lower speed, and then you have everybody on top of the berm coming around you, just a brain fart, a mistake.
What did you think of the pass that he made on Anderson? Just kind of used up the track. Like,
yeah, I think Anderson should have pulled out of it. I honestly do, because at this level, like everybody's going to use the whole track, right? Like, these guys, they're not going to give you an inch. So you're out there on the outside. You put yourself out there to dry.
Yeah. You have to respect Coop's line that he was taking, right? He's going to go, like you said, he's going to use up the whole track, and the angle wasn't that bad. Like he's turning and then just starts to scoot over.
Coop actually dropped into that rut and held his line, and then Jason tried to come back down because he knew he was running out of real estate from the track standpoint. And then he came down and bumped into the side of him. So I thought Coop did exactly what he should have done. He used up the real estate, went underneath Jason, and Jason got put out to dry on the outside.
What do you feel is the difference in that pass as opposed to the pass that Chase put on Anderson when he went by? Or do you feel like they're very similar?
I mean, from a racing standpoint, looking like if I'm Jason, for example, it happened to me twice, right? If I'm Jason, it happened twice in one night. This one here is going to definitely be one that sticks in his mind. He's in my opinion, he probably has already forgot about the Coop thing and is thinking, okay, well, I screwed that up, but Chase took me down. That's kind of my mentality. Like right here, if he looks at it, nothing, Coop didn't do anything. He ran him. He took up the track. He used all the real estate. But then obviously Chase came up the very inside and basically took his front wheel out, but not super. I wouldn't use the T-bone word, right? It's not a T-bone. It's not overly aggressive. He came in hot. Jason should have at this point should have looked over, or Jason should have just protected the inside, right? Like made Chase go to the outside and have to cut down.
Right.
But Jason left the inside open.
I gotcha. Good. I was curious. I had like like I gave my take on that and with Coops, and I was just I saw it the exact same way you did. Moving along to the Dunlop debate section of our podcast today, RV, and has to be the 250 East. And who do you think had the most impressive night? You think Nate Thrasher with the dub, or Hammaker, and how well he rode outside of that one little mistake on the first moto?
Yeah, honestly, both of those two. Thrasher ended up with the overall. We've seen him this year, but not. I don't think it's where he's wanted to be. But consistency, 3.32 equals the overall. Now, looking at Seth, Hammaker with the obvious, and he fell in that turn that we were just dissected with Coop, right? He did something very, very similar to what Coop did, and that put him with a 9 in race 1. But then he went 1-1. So the most impressive for me is Seth rebounding and also getting his first win in 4 years. Just a few, week ago, 2 weeks ago ish. And then coming out with a 1-1 is very impressive. As we just watch Seth come in there and wash the front end out in that same turn that Coop did. But so for me, Seth is the most impressive out of that, just because of his trials and tribulations. Not that Nate hasn't had those, but the consistency, other than the 9th place, and that's the other thing. Seth put himself in a great position when he went down, right? Like he was in a great position. If take that out of it, could that have been a 1-1-1? That's huge for Seth. So. So I'm gonna lean on Seth, but it's a very close second. Is Nate? Being that the field is as stacked as it is, and Vialle riding very well, Hampshire riding very well. Those two have seemed to, especially Seth, have kind of found their stride, I feel like.
Yeah, Thrasher too. Like, you got to remember he hurt his finger going into before Detroit, I believe it was. And he was on his podium speech. Like, I see him because we're on the same flight quite often, and I saw his finger 2 weeks ago. I think it was going into Indy for the showdown. And dude, that thing was so gnarly. Like, he couldn't even bend it. I'm like, how in the hell are you riding, bro? And so think about what he's been able to do. And then now he's like, he finally got a week of practice, and that, how important it is to, get somewhat of some normalcy to your program, and what that can do for you mentally going into the week, and knowing that you've had a good week of practice. I mean, at least for me, RV, when I had a great week of practice and some normalcy, I felt really, really comfortable. And I feel like that's what Nate was able to do. Not a surprise. This is the second time that he's won a Triple Crown, but I'm with you. And not to take away from Nate Thrasher's great ride and doing it somewhat injured, but I just love what I see from Seth Hammaker. And since he's made that switch, riding at the Lawrence compound and just being around those people and working with Burner, he just looks like a different guy. He doesn't make the mistakes that he has in the past. He seems like he's learned when to pull back when needed, and outside of that tip over, which is easy to do. And I think that he'll learn from it to be able to rebound from that and then go 1-1 with ease. I've been super impressed with him. I love to see it.
Yeah. No, he rode very, very well. So that's what kind of like what we talked about, that confidence. It's all about Seth isn't necessarily going, yes, with confidence comes speed for sure. But it's not like he's riding, he's not a different person. He's a different person mentally after getting that first win in 4 years, and then, backing it up with 2 more main event wins in that Triple Crown. And like I said, what if that, and I know it's what if, it's horseshoes and hand grenades, but he put himself in a great position off the start, and just, he put it on the ground quickly. What if that wouldn't have happened? Do we see a 1-1-1, which would be absolutely massive for him. So it's gonna be interesting to see what he can do with that. Seems like he's on a roll. He's found himself. The bike's working well. And now it's he's got to capitalize on where he sits currently.
Yep. Throw up the points. I was just gonna say, here you go, RV. So you got Vialle and you got RJ 10 back, Seth 13 back. I think we have another showdown that we are going to see, and I believe that is in Philly. So that'll be exciting. I'm almost positive it's in Philly. I'm probably be wrong, but I feel pretty confident in that. So there'll be some points there that a guy like Seth could use to his advantage because he's further out of the points. I like Vialle and how he races RV and how I like his approach, I should say, of just the championship mindset and just like he'll podium you to death.
Yep.
Like, I don't know.
Consistency, right? Like, look at it. Like, he has been this season not very, I shouldn't say phenomenal, but like he's been flying under the radar is what I'll say to a certain extent. We haven't been, me and you, like broadcast all of that, like hasn't been, hyped up, talked a ton about. Yes, he's had some good races. But as we just saw in the points there, he's got a 10-point lead. And I feel like we've all been talking, myself, you, the broadcast, the fans, like he's kind of low man on the totem pole from the standpoint of like being a hot topic. But the hot topic right now is that he's got a 10-point lead.
That's right.
And this East Coast is coming down very quickly to running out of races to where we're going to crown a championship very, very soon. And that's a great position to be in, right? Like, sure, everybody, from a racing standpoint to try to win as many races as you can and go out on top and know, hey, I won four of the 7 races this year or 5 of the 8 races, whatever it is, right? Like then you can really stamp it. But a championship's a championship, and to be able to do it, I think that shows kind of his mentality as a racer coming from Europe, the longevity to what you just said about like how he approaches his season. In the consistency and never making too many big mistakes. And it's put him in a position right now where he's, like I said, 10-point lead.
Yeah. And then there's not a whole lot of racing left.
No,
for these guys. 10 points is pretty darn good. I like RJ, dude. I don't think it's over for RJ. Knowing like winning the championship the way that he did last week, basically whoever wins the championship scenario. That is a really, you talk about a pressure cooker situation, RV. I don't know if you've ever been in that situation, but I definitely have. And it is unpleasant. And it wasn't an experience that I ever wanted to do again. But I'm not giving up on where he's at. He beat himself up pretty bad, but I thought he had a hell of a night. He just screwed up that third start, but man, it happens,
It does. Yep, it does. It does for sure. The scary part, or the part that I look at is RJ is sometimes he'll do some of the fastest laps on the track, if not be the fastest rider, but also he sometimes is a little mistake prone. And if that's because he's trying too hard, or just like we saw right there coming to the first turn, he didn't leave the gate very well, and then he bobbled out in front and then put himself in a very bad position in the first turn. And then there was a rider that went down, as you can see right there, had to like double clutch it a couple times. The front wheel slapped the ground. And when the front wheel slaps the ground, with how deep we have our starting devices, it's our fork, it's like a 2x4, like the forks don't right. Boom, slaps the ground again.
Double clutching it.
Yeah, double clutching it. And that right there is in a championship standpoint, obviously, as everybody knows, can't happen. So when I look at him, the speed's there, and you can never not say he doesn't try, because the guy tries.
Oh, dude,
maybe even too hard a lot of times. But so from the mistake side of it, like he got to clean that up and bridge that gap with the 10 points that Vialle has.
The East Division, 250 East Division, they have 5 more races, and 2 of those are showdowns. So still a lot of points up for grabs. And dude, did you saw Anstie's crash?
I did.
That guy.
Yep.
That guy just comes up a little bit short. Momentum of his body goes forward. Pow. Oh.
Yeah, it's seat bouncing that tape, which it's a quad at the points. So just came up a little bit short, and boom, right there you can see him land on that left leg, and
fib.
Fib, total bummer. It's interesting to watch. He came out firing on all cylinders, and I'm not saying he didn't keep firing on all cylinders, but it seemed like he
was class of the field, in my opinion.
Yep. And then obviously that, I think after the red flag, that red flag that he had lost to Levi with, it seemed like, the tide had kind of turned a little bit, and also too, I think a guy like in his position, being that where he's come from, came to the US, back to Europe, back to the US, back to Europe, and now he's here again. Putting yourself in that position in that title fight like he was, points leader at one time, it becomes so much pressure. And I'm not saying that's what happened, but a mistake happened. And for whatever reason, the mistake did happen. Was it this? Was it that? Obviously we're not inside of his head, but it's a total bummer to see because, Max is a great dude, does some of the best interviews, and I love listening to him. And he was on fire at the beginning of the season. That's all I can say. Yep.
Before we get to the preview of show you guys what's on NBC Motorsports and NBC's next, shout out to CMB 2384. He said, or they said, just want to say thanks again for the quad lock gear. Pumped you got it, dude.
Awesome.
Hope you like it, and thank you again, Quad Lock. Super Motocross on NBC this week. Throw it up there. There you go. SMX Insiders, 3 p.m. Eastern with Weege and JT. JT will be, Weege will be in the booth this weekend with me. Looking forward to having Weege back in there. And then Saturday, 2:30 p.m. Eastern, qualifying race day live with Brayton and Cianciarulo. That'll be live on Peacock. And then 8 p.m. Eastern, Monster Energy Supercross, round 11 on Peacock live from Seattle. And then Monday, graveyard shift, 1 a.m. Check it out. Encore presentation of Seattle will be on CNBC. Again, that'll be 1 a.m. Eastern time. If you want to check it out on CNBC, that's where it will be living, and you can watch it again. Before we get into Seattle really quick, Jeremy_Smith, 28. So there was some stuff that happened this week. He asks, should Star Yamaha take action with Deegan for getting arrested, or is that irrelevant to the sport?
I think it's irrelevant to the sport, right? It has nothing to do with Supercross. Yes, is it a bad look? Yeah, it's a bad look for sure. Everybody has to remember that young kid, we all do stupid stuff sometimes. And, I think that from what I've heard, right, this is all rumor. This is all things that I've just gathered through Instagram and things like that. But I heard it was a parking lot out, just doing some burnouts and things like that. He wasn't out on the freeway. He wasn't out on open road, putting other people in danger from what I gather. So that being said, man, I just watched an Instagram video of a cop doing burnouts in the snow, and he
Did you really?
Yeah. And I saw the whole thing and read it all, and the cop basically got suspended for doing burnouts in his cop car. And so that being said, look, the only thing I can say from this, is it a bad look? Yes, it is a bad look, but damn, is it a marketing move? I'm not saying a marketing move. He did it on purpose, but obviously he's got the t-shirts out now. There you go. Dropping tomorrow.
I love it.
I'll take Brian. I'll get
you one of those. I'm gonna buy you one. I'm gonna buy you one, RV.
We're pushing your product, Haiden, so I'll take a royalty off of that, please. But look, hey, it's not a good look, but
hey, dude,
we're all kids at some point.
If half the people, if we had social media back in the day, and how we how we abused rental cars, the fun times that we had back in the 90s, and stuff that I learned from my heroes and watching them just having no mercy on rental cars.
If anybody's information, the reason why you have to be 25 to rent a rental car is because of our sport in general.
That's right. I remember back in the days, like this is before airbags, how old I am. So you didn't have to worry about like running into people or someone running into the back of you. Dude, I remember one time we were in Redbud and we're at the hotel talking about burnouts and donuts. So we took these trays like from a cafeteria. Yeah, we put them up underneath the rear tires and put the emergency brake on, and as a front wheel drive car, and just it's like you were on ice, right? It was so much fun. Totally disrespectful to
well,
dude, I was 17, 18. I'm watching my heroes at the time do the same thing.
We're all stupid and dumb at certain times in our life, and hopefully we grow out of it. Like, same thing. MXON, Redbud 2007. Like we had just won it. I was 17, I think, and we destroyed a rental car that night. And looking back on it, probably wasn't the greatest move.
Yeah, same. I'm not proud of what I did. That's for sure.
Exactly. So, as long as it's in a controlled environment and you're trying to do it as safe as possible, I guess that's the way you look at it. But yeah, I guess it's not necessarily good for the sport, but hey, we're trying to bring eyes to the sport too, and I guess he's doing it.
There you go. I'm getting you that shirt though. I'm gonna get you. Yeah. All right, dude. We're going up to your homelands this weekend, Seattle preview. I
actually check the weather right now while you
check it. I mean, just assume that it's gonna be raining, or it's gonna be raining. But what are you looking for out of Seattle? We're going back 250 West Division. So you have Juju, Deegs, let's see here. Davies,
Davies, Joe, Cody Shaw,
Jordan, Moseman. What are you looking for first out of the 450s? Tell me what you will have your eyes on, and what are you looking for from certain riders? Anything in particular?
It's going to Seattle. It's probably one of the harder places to go and race, just because of our dirt quality, where they get our dirt from, how soft it is. Obviously, I'm looking at my my radar, not radar, but my 10-day right now. 100% chance of rain today. Tuesday it'll be nice, but Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, it's anywhere from 50 to 60 or 50 to 80% rain. So looking at that, you're going to have a very tough track and condition wise, even if we don't get rain on Saturday, right? The dirt's going to be saturated. The track crew will do the best they can. SMX track crew will do the best they can, but there's only so much they can do, and we're in an open stadium. So I'm going to be paying attention to the two that we just talked to, right? Coop and Chase. Those are obviously, from my standpoint, I'm looking to see who's going to be able to leave Seattle, either with the points lead or put in the best ride that they can on a very treacherous track. So that being said, Saturday's showing a 50% chance of rain. Now it is Monday and that could change, but
mine says 30%.
Okay. Yeah. 30%. So you never know. We are on the water.
We don't know.
So I'll be looking for Coop and Chase to see what happens with those two. And as for the lights, as for the 250 class, it's such a, for me, it's like, I always hated going to Seattle. I always hated it because you never knew what you were going to get. You gotta plan for the worst, which was obviously a full mud race because of rain. But even if it didn't rain, it's a tough track to ride. It can be slippery depending on, obviously, like I said, where they get the dirt. Typically that one's a very tough one for SMX track crew because there's no real close place to store dirt. So I've shown up multiple years and we've had dirt been changed on us, every year it's been changed, right? If it's a mud race, they get rid of it. If they, whatever the case may be, it's a tough place to race. But they fill that stadium, and that's one of the louder stadiums too. So, but from the other hand, I always loved going back because it was my hometown race. You got to see family and things like that. But from the actual gate drop standpoint, it wasn't my favorite place to race just because of the amount of things that could have happened or that did happen with rain and open stadium.
Dude, 2006 RV, it was muddy, and I don't know. I sucked that night. I don't even know if I got the podium. Maybe I did, but I had I don't know how I saved it, but I went off the course, and I swear, if I would have crashed, I probably would have lost the championship that year, because I think the next round we went to might have been the final round, maybe. If not, maybe there was one more in between. And dude, I went off and I got on that slippery ass plywood. Oh, dude, I don't know how I saved it, but that's kind of, I guess that'd be my Seattle. The only thing that sticks out in my mind at Seattle. I never really vibed on racing there. I love the fans.
Yeah,
I love the fans. They were so epic, but dude, I don't know, man. I couldn't get a hold of the track, and like, I don't know.
Yep, and I've had some great races there. I think I got my very first 450 win was there in what would have been 09. I think that was my very first. Then I went on to win Vegas right after that in 06. But then I also, tore my ACL there again, and had some tough races. So it's a tough one. That one is very unpredictable from a racer standpoint, because you just don't know what you're going to get.
Right. Tell us about the merch, dude. I saw you announced a little drop with
it's
I like
cool, man. I mean, look, myself, Ricky, you've been involved with Mitch for your entire career. Same with me. We did a merch drop, hat, sweatshirt, vest. You can get over to the RV2 website and pick some up if you'd like, for the fans that are listening. But we wanted to showcase everything that I had did when I was at Pro Circuit. I was there for 3 years, and won a ton of races with Mitch. And those are probably my best 3 years. I was young. There wasn't, a lot on my plate from that standpoint, because I was young, dumb, and just, fast. Right. So there's a ton, and we put all of my race wins at Pro Circuit on the back of that shirt, and did a kind of a little bit of a retro, color look with it, and just trying to do something cool for myself, but also Mitch. Right. Like, I think he's a staple. He will go down, in my opinion. He'll probably go down he will go down in history as one of the best team owners that I think have done probably the most for this sport, out of anybody. So just did something cool and collabed with Mitch, and he helps me out so much still. Anything that I need or want to do, if I want to go racing, if I want to race 125 or build a 250 or whatever the case may be, he's right there to do it. I need 60 kits put in the Cobras coming up for Mammoth, so he's going to be doing that. So it's good. The relationship that me and Mitch have it's really really good. So very tight.
Yeah, I saw some of it on your Instagram. Go over to RV2 website and check it out. Get you some for sure. All right, RV, that's it, dude. Glad to have you back, brother.
Yeah, no, thank you, boys. And I'll be Glen Helen this weekend for the Blue Crew Invitational, and I will be Starlinked up, watching every corner, every bit of action that'll be happening with the boys, and it'll be good.
Heck yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you, everybody, for United Motorsports, Quad Lock, Boxo, and Dunlop. Thank you, guys. Thanks to all of our great fans, the questions, and the response. And the DMs, we appreciate all of you guys, man. Just overwhelming support. It's a lot of fun. We don't have to do this. We do it because we love it, and we hope that you guys enjoy the insight. You can always check us out at Motorsports and NBC's YouTube page. As you know, we're on demand on Peacock. And then, of course, your favorite podcast applications. We're there if you just want to listen to the audio version of it. So thank you very much. Again, glad to have you back, RV, and we will see you next week.
Yes, sir, buddy.
Hi folks, Lee Diffie from NBC Sports here. If you truly enjoyed what you just watched, you can get more news, interviews, and highlights
by subscribing to the Motorsports on NBC YouTube page. You can get it all, so go for it.